wonder if Mike needs a V8. I feel like the camera is kind of sideways.
Ooh, my hair.
That's an amazing picture of you, Dave. You look sharp.
My hair looks good. Well, dude, oh my goodness, that conditioner really fluffens up my hair.
Oh, hey, we're live.
Yeah, we are, I know.
I thought maybe we were starting to be, but just making sure. So I'm going to check real quick. I see some YouTube happening there. And let's see. Facebook has some connection.
Facebook is on.
Facebook is on.
Everything
Whoa!
is on.
Oh, but I wonder if that's the quality it looks like. Surely not.
Settings.
It says HD.
It's on auto right now, so it's gonna switch.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, okay, we'll kick it down. Oh, there we go. Hey there, everybody.
See, now it looks
Darren's
better.
on. Yay. Hey, Darren, haven't seen you in a long time. I was just thinking about you the other day. Shannon, Betty, Mary Beth, Darlene, Kirsten and Kristen. Well, it's actually not a show day, but last week we were doing some testing and we came on just to chit chat and it seemed like it was pretty fun, so we thought maybe we'd try that again, just for a little casual show. Jack, did you want to say hey to everybody?
Hello, persons.
Bandana Grandma, hey Kellerman, hi. Hey, I heard that Tara saw the mittens that you made, and it looked like she was really enjoying them. Let's see. What a nice surprise. Thank you, Crystal. Hello from Texas. All right. Making your broccoli and cheese soup. Oh, yum. Actually, I should be making that sometime soon. Elizabeth says, hi, Mike. I'm making your broccoli and cheese soup. I'm going to have that for dinner with ham and cheese grilled cheese.
Ooh.
Yum. Actually, it's funny how easy it is to do a lot of that. We had some grilled cheese and Tara had some thin sliced lunch meat and we just put a little bit of that ham on there. Oh, man, that was delish.
Ooh,
And then I put a little bit of garlic on it when I grilled it. Woo! Because you can never have enough garlic, people.
Yep.
Hi, Antonia. Good to have you. I'm glad you started to watch your channel recently. Yay, thanks. Actually, what's funny is it's just been Dave and I and sometimes Jack for a while, but usually Tara's here too.
Hey, Amy. Happy Saturday.
Hey, Amy. Happy Saturday. Isn't it Australia Day in Australia?
Oh, I forgot.
I'm going to have to look real quick. Dun dun. January 26th. Yes.
Yeah.
So in America, it's not Australia Day yet, but in Australia it is. Mind blown. So happy Australia Day to all our friends down under. All right. No snacks, Dave? Not yet.
Nope, not yet.
Tara's got some pizza in the oven.
Once she gets the pizza out, I probably will be eating on that. No.
Ooh, Nebo Island. Plan on making egg rolls this weekend. They were so delish.
Ooh.
Yeah, and actually they were really easy to make. And I don't know if I mentioned it. I didn't mention it on that show, but Heidi told me later, she said, I feel kind of bad. I cheated when I made mine. She said that she bought a bag of coleslaw mix, so she didn't even have to grind the veggies. So, and that's pretty easy. And I think we a lot of times see that mix marked down because they mark it down if people don't buy it really quickly. So, yeah, I was hoping you'd be here tonight. Thank you, Cheryl. We're coming through loud and clear. Yay. All right. Kathy, yes. We did mail that book, and so I will make a note for myself to check it after the show. But we did mail it to you, so you should have received it already. So I'll have to go look and see. Kathy was one of the winners the other day of the 20th anniversary edition. So I'm sending myself that message. All right. Ooh, Elizabeth, today's my 50th birthday. Hey, Jack, go grab the candle and the lighter, please.
Hey, Beverly.
Where's Beverly?
Beverly up there.
Oh, I see Beverly.
From Florida.
Hello. Can you bake the egg rolls? Yes, you can. And
will they be as good?
About 400 for... Tara says she does it about 400. And she says she just keeps an eye on them. She's not sure quite how long to bake them for. Heidi did them the other day. She said the egg roll wrapper had a thing about spraying it with Pam or something like that. And so she did that first and then baked them. And she said they turned out great.
Do you want me to light it?
Sure.
Okay, because the wax melts fast.
We have to sing for Elizabeth. And so So we don't have a particular show topic today. There is a studio audience, but we're trying to not to pretend like she's not there.
Yes, but your studio audience has an announcement.
Uh-oh.
I have a soap sale that we need to get them going.
Oh, she wants to mention that there's a soap sale. Yes.
HomemadeSoapMakingSupplies.com.
At homemadesoapmakingsupplies.com.
The mystery boxes are 30% off.
She said the mystery boxes are 30% off. Is a mystery box, you just put some various mystery soaps in there?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go to homemadesoapmakingsupplies.com, there's a coupon code. She has a little,
It's on the front page.
there's like a big red thing on the front page that says use coupon code, whatever it is. So, yay. All right. Let's sing to Elizabeth. And then, I was going to tell you before we sing to Elizabeth, if you guys have any questions you want to ask us, go ahead and shoot. It's going to be a pretty casual conversation today. Dave might talk about a particular subject.
You gotta sing to Tanner too.
And Tanner? Okay, great.
On Facebook or YouTube? Okay, cool.
All right, so we're going to sing to Tanner, or Elizabeth and Tanner, and then, of course, we might even sing later in the show if other people have birthdays.
Crystal!
Tara says hello, Crystal. All right, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Elizabeth and Tanner. Happy birthday to you. Blow. No, blow it out.
Don't spit at it.
It's a good thing we're not superstitious. It took 3 blows to get that out. Ooh, Amy T, I have a lemon cake in the oven, and I'm starting marinating chicken ready for barbecue lunch we're having with friends later. Yay. See, I don't know what you do on Australia Day. I'm sure it's barbecue since it's the middle of the summer. Wow.
So who did Australia get independent from? Britain?
I would say from Britain, yeah. Although I don't think it was in the way that we did. Yes, Mandy. All of you who won the books in the giveaways, we have mailed them, and they should be arriving if they're not there already. So if you don't get it by like Monday, email us and I will check to make sure. So anyway, I'm going to see if we have any questions before we get going. Dave has some.
Oh, yeah, this is totally off script. I don't know what to say. Oof.
Okay, so you didn't miss anything, La Diana. We are just coming on as a casual Friday afternoon show.
We're just talking,
No script. We're just
chatting.
chit-chatting with everybody.
having fun.
But if you have a question, thank you, Star. If you have a question or you want to just say something, feel free. Just throw it right out there and we'll talk about it.
I have a
So
question.
Uh-oh.
Tara has a question.
What is it like living with a cheap wife?
What is it like living with a cheap
Ooh.
wife?
A cheap wife.
What about a cheap mother?
Ooh, what's it like living with a cheap mother?
Well, you're frugal, not cheap.
Ooh, very.
It's fun.
Oh, we trained.
There's a
You're frugal, not cheap.
Come on.
Camera.
What? No. No, do not come hug me. Oh,
It
no.
does a mom's
No.
heart good.
No.
So, Connie from Kentucky says, we just refinanced our home from 30 years to 15 years. I want to ask about how much extra did you get to get your mortgage paid off? We haven't completely paid it off yet, but we started out paying like $50 extra or something, and then we moved to $100, and we did that for a number of years, and then we got to a point where we were making extra payments, like whole extra payments. And when you do that, for anyone who wants to pay off extra on your mortgage, anytime you pay any extra, you have to mark it as additional principal. If you don't, then they will charge it as a future payment, and you won't really be paying it off. It'll just mean that next month you'll get a bill for $0, but you'll still owe the same amount, and you'll have to pay the same amount of interest over time. So if you pay any extra, you have to click additional principal. What I think any amount you pay is good, but if you really want to pay it off, I would pay a minimum of an extra payment every month if you can. And I think most people can more than they think they can, just because there's a lot of spending that people think is critically important spending, and if you really think about it, it's not. And if you're super motivated to get that paid off, we've paid pretty much any time. So we've paid at least an extra payment every month for 2 years. And there have been a lot of times where if there was a big influx of cash for some reason, I'd kind of look at it and think,
Car accidents.
well, so we had a few things. Business was really booming last year about this time. And so we put some of that money into that. We put some of that money straight on the house. So we paid some big chunks at that time. There were in Colorado, if you're involved in a car accident and it's the other person's fault, after they do all the negotiations, they call you and offer you a pain and suffering settlement, which I guess is part of Colorado law. We never had this anywhere before, but basically they would call us and say, "Hey, we want to make you an offer for pain and suffering." Like, okay. And they'd say, "How about $5,000? Like, okay.
Well, thank you.
So anytime we get extra money like that, we'd put it straight on there. This year, we're required on our taxes to pay, because we're self-employed, we're required to pay quarterly in advance for the taxes that are coming up, kind of like you would have withholding normally. But because our income fluctuates up and down through the year, I'm never quite sure if we're paying too much. And I have a suspicion this year we might get some back. And if we do, it's immediately going to go on the house. So that's what I would say. I would say any amount you can pay is better than nothing. But I would certainly, if you pay a whole payment, it'll knock off like 3 payments later on, off the end of the mortgage. And once if you start looking at that number coming down, man, it's fun to see a high mortgage number start coming down, and you think, wow, look at that. So, were you going to say something, Jack?
Well,
You came over like you're going to say something.
well, somebody wants to know what I think of the organizing lady on Netflix. I'm going to do a whole video on that when I come back.
What?
What was that?
Organizing lady?
There's an organizing lady on Netflix. I'm going to do a whole video on that.
Somebody was asking about an organizing lady on Netflix. Tara said she's going to do a whole video on that when she comes back. She's having a hard time because she's trying to stand down and decompress, but she's getting all these ideas. I think the ideas are just going to make her explode.
We're having to write a list so then she can do a 24-hour marathon on what she has to say.
Oh, we've had a number of questions about this lately. Cynthia's asking right now. Andrea asked the other day, and a bunch of other people. For those of you who don't know, Tara's just been overwhelmed for a couple of years, and we've tried a couple of times to try to help her to mitigate that by doing just different things. And one of them was cutting the Friday shows normally, because we used to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week.
That's why we're doing Friday for occasionally.
But she was just super, super worn out and trying all different kinds of things, and it wasn't working. So she's taking a sabbatical right now, basically an extended break.
Yeah,
So,
it's working.
well, she says it isn't working. You need to leave town.
Go back to
Anyone
the
want to
hot
take her for a
springs.
while?
Going off the house, so I should just go on.
Go back to the hot
So
springs.
I bet Tommy and Patty would have you at their place.
Yeah, go do that.
So anyway, so she's taking off some time, and in the meantime, we're doing the shows, and we've kind of missed the Friday shows ourselves, Dave and I, but we're not sure if we're really ready to commit to doing them every week.
We're not.
But we thought if we can do it in a casual way like this, it would be more likely that we would do it more often.
It's controllable.
Angela says, is your self-employed this show in the cookbooks looking for a good stay-at-home income? Yeah, don't do this.
Don't follow our example.
Yes, our self-employed is this, but it took a really long time for us to make it work that way. And if you're starting from scratch, there are a lot of easier things you can do to make an income from home. Mostly the marketing is the most important part to learn, but it took us, we've been doing it 20 years and we've really only made a normal income for about 3 years. So although I think if some of the stuff that we know now, if we had known it then, we could have accelerated the process greatly. All right, Dave, why don't you talk about what you were going to talk about?
Oh,
while
what?
Wait, no,
I was-
I'm not closing the soap business. I'm just selling off.
Tara is not closing the soap business. You're what?
I'm just selling off extra stuff.
She says she's
Oh.
just selling off extra supplies.
I wasn't going to
Yeah.
talk about anything.
Oh, well, Dave, let me ask you a question, and then I will look in here and see what other questions are.
Uh-oh.
We've had questions before about what is it like to live in
Ooh.
a frugal family when you're a teenager. Do you feel
Do you feel deprived?
deprived?
Do
No.
you feel you've missed
No.
out on life?
Deprivation is not a thing in this house.
Do your friends make fun of you and call you a dork because you
No.
don't have a cell phone?
Well, no.
Okay, now you talk.
What?
You talk now. Tell us what you think.
Well, I mean, we're in a frugal family, so we don't buy everything we see, but, we still, you still have a normal life. I mean, yeah, except for, like, the phones and stuff. You don't need phones. I mean, yeah. I don't know really what to say because I've never had a more, I don't know, what would you call it? A non-frugal life. I mean, I'm so used to it.
So you don't even know what you're missing.
Not really, to be honest. I do know, unlike a lot of people, since we are able to, we have a lot more money because we don't spend on cars that we can't afford and stuff like that. And that's nice because, you know, I can also work for them and get money myself and, you know, buy stuff like watches and whatnot. But yeah. I don't know what else to say, really.
Okay, so let me ask you.
'Cause-
First of all, Jesse wants to know, do you have video games?
I do, but I had to work in order to get money to pay for the computer, the card, the processor, and all the video games. That's why I've been working for these peeps for like 3 years now, 4 years.
Yes.
I've been packing books, doing show business. What else? Oh, and doing chores, lots of chores. Yeah. I do extra chores to get extra money. And yeah, it's nice.
Well, and Jack has to do the same thing. So if he wants to buy, he likes to play Roblox, and if he wants Robux which are points that you can buy to get, it's currency in the game that you can use to get special character clothes and stuff like that, then he has to take that out of money that he's gotten from either chores or... Do we actually do any regular allowance anymore, or is it all based on chores? Okay.
Well, for Jack, but not the kids that...
For us,
If
it's
they
based
turn
on...
16 and get their own job, they don't get allowance.
Yeah, so for Jack, Dave gets allowance too?
Yeah, just a little bit.
So Jack and Dave both get
Hardly.
allowance. Tar says when they get to be 16, then it's they don't
right
get
around the
allowance
corner.
anymore. And they do have a certain amount of chores and things they're supposed to do just because that's what they do. But Dave, we pay him extra for working for our business. So he often produces the show. He makes us graphics and takes pictures of things, and we pay him for all that stuff.
Give
And
Dave
shipping.
a thumbs up, guys.
Well, yeah, everything...
Hashtag love for Dave.
Since
Hashtag love for Dave.
just being in a frugal family, it's the same as a normal family, except for you don't get everything for free. You actually have to work. And if I were to get something like an iPhone, I would have to pay for it. And I don't want to pay for an iPhone. I want to pay for, you know, other stuff like my cameras and watches and
He loves watches.
stuff like that. You know, I work to pay for that stuff, and I don't find the joy in having a phone. Mainly because, you know, all my friends are addicted to their phones and glued to it all the time, and I don't want to become that person.
Aww.
So,
Oh,
what?
thank you.
Oh,
Did we
Okay.
succeed as parents so far?
so far, yes.
Jack, did you have something you wanted to say real quick?
Yeah, I wanted to show them Bob the firefighter.
Oh, Bob the Fire. Oh.
Bob the
Oh,
firefighter.
do you need me to?
So, Dave,
Yeah,
do
can
your
you
friends make fun of you because you don't have the latest clothes and hottest shoes?
No, I have my own style. Who said that?
So have you ever had anybody at school say anything bad about you because you didn't have a phone or because you didn't have any
No.
kind of doodad?
No.
No?
So Bob the firefighter basically just covers up the top of candles so that the fire can't get oxygen.
See? Oh, you missed one. Yeah, do it
So
again.
it's a paper plate and it's not burning?
Wait. Oh,
Or
Okay.
is it burning?
yeah, it's going.
You have to seal it completely though, right?
Yeah, there was
And
one
why does
small
how does
part.
that work, Jack?
Here.
Just be careful, is that hot, huh? So how does
Yeah,
that
it gets
work?
hot.
Basically, it just blocks off the oxygen to the fires because
hope
fire needs oxygen to burn.
Just so you know, everybody,
We've done many. We were experimenting with that before. We made many precautions and yeah.
Connie, when you guys have dinner, do you have a rule that the TV and phones are off? Yes,
If you have a
but
phone.
what's our rule about phones?
Oh, you can't have a phone until you're 16 or older. But I don't really
And?
want a phone anyways.
And what else?
And you pay for the data, you pay for the phone, and everything.
And you have to have a job.
And you have to have a job. And well,
and a driver's license.
Yeah.
All those are requirements for us
We have a
before they
long
can have
list.
a phone, and they have to buy their own. And what's really funny, for the
But I
What's-
don't even find. I mean, I might get a flip phone, but just to for emergencies. But I don't see why I need social media in my pocket all the time.
Good.
Yeah.
Mama wants to know, what do you do to make ends meet? What other jobs do you do?
Me or
Dad.
oh, Dad? Oh.
right, so we don't do any other jobs to make ends meet. We actually, when we're not on the show, we do a whole lot of other work to make this more successful. But there was a
lot.
time, because like I said, we've been doing this 20 years, and during that time, it hasn't always been. In fact, it wasn't really intended to be our business at all. It was kind of, it was a hobby for Tara that she suddenly thought, maybe I should make this business. And then it became sort of, we started moving it into a hobby business, and it sort of sat there for a while, and it kind of grew from that. But at the time where we started thinking, man, we could make this our main business, I had been a television producer, and I continued to do that I say part-time. I did about 30 hours of TV and 30 hours of this together for quite a few years. But right now, this is all we do, and partly we've learned better how to do business. Like, for instance, it helps to get more people involved because we do make our money from selling our cookbooks. By the way, I should share a link for that.
Oh yeah.
We make money from selling our cookbooks and some from advertising on the website and advertising on the videos and things like that. And so what makes it succeed financially is just having a lot of people involved. So figuring out how to do that and how to reach people better and how to find people that are actually interested in the stuff that we do is what's made that successful. And that's been really difficult. For a long time, it was difficult because we didn't have any real contact with people.
And we didn't have the tools.
Before the show, it was a little more difficult to tell what people were thinking about things and what stuff was more important to them.
Because all you could see is so-and-so purchased a book.
Yeah.
You couldn't see the overall, oh, these are all the statistics on this book, and yeah.
So let's see. I'm looking to see what else. Will you keep doing these fun shows when Tara comes back? So do you like the casual shows?
Like just us sitting here and chatting?
Because they're a million times easier than the regular shows.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of a last-second decision, too. Dad was like, oh, I don't know. Do we want to do the show? Oh, let's text Mom. Oh, she says she's getting Jack. Oh, do we actually want to do it, though? Yeah, sure, let's do it.
So Crystal,
Hang on, let me turn this up.
I've always been curious what happened to Emily's parents. If you don't want to discuss, no worries.
Ooh,
Yeah,
about that.
I'll be careful because I want to be respectful to her. But Emily's mother is my sister, and she was having a lot of personal life problems, and she wasn't living with Emily and her dad. And Emily's dad passed away, my brother-in-law. So we ended up taking her into our house and adopting her. And
Why? Did you say?
yeah, her dad died, and my sister was having a lot of problems where it really wasn't going to be a good home life for Emily. So, but I won't go specifically into what all that is.
There's
And-
a lot. There's like 4 years of content in there, to be honest. But
Yeah, but so that's what happened. So she was living with her dad, and her mom had kind of just gone and lived in a lot of places, kind of doing her own thing, and so at the time it looked like it would be very unstable for Emily if she had to go to that. So yeah, I was trying not to say too much, but that's pretty much the picture. So it was really difficult for us though, because it required going to court for some things, and it was unexpectedly challenged by some family that had previously thought that was a good idea. So anyway, all right. Bama fan, do the same rules as a mortgage, the same as paying off student loan debt. If you have student loan debt, I would Well, I would certainly pay off extra. If you have student loan debt, I would knock it out as quick as possible because there's no way to get rid of it except to pay it off.
Buy the necessities and then pay off the loan. With
Yeah.
the other money, with your extra
But the
offset.
interest is calculated differently on student loans.
Oh, yeah.
So paying off extra may not have quite the same effect as it does on the mortgage, but if you keep a student loan for 30 years or whatever, because we know some people that expect to be paying them until they're retired. And I would say if you don't have student loans, I really would avoid them at all costs. There are a lot of
I'm not
it's
even
not
going
easy.
to try to go to school, to be honest, because one, if you're a photographer like me, that's a business that you can go into, and I already know a lot about cameras, like a lot. And so you don't really need college for that. I mean, I could see if you wanted to be, if your heart was completely set on being a movie producer or like a movie, what do you call it? Cinematographer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If your heart is completely set on wanting to be a cinematographer and you've been wanting to do it since you were born and you're like, super into it, then sure, go for it if you think you will still want to do it in the end. But if you're unsure about anything, do not take college. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I
one
didn't
thing-
mean to make that.
From having been to college, I can say, especially since the cost is so dramatically higher. When I went to college, the tuition for each semester, of course, this was in-state in Texas, and Texas was using, they have an oil trust fund that they were wise and put money from oil production into that. And so at the time, it was $400 a semester for the tuition. We had to pay extra for books and things, but then we could sell the books back and stuff. And my parents paid the tuition part of that for me. And they started to pay the books, but eventually I kind of wanted to take that on, so I just did it. But I realized if I bought the books used and then resold them back, I could almost use the books for nothing. So
How much your
so for $400 a semester, and I was really not wanting to be in school 1 minute longer than I needed to be. And so I graduated with 121 hours. You needed 120. Most people end up with like 160 because they change majors a lot. And so my total cost was $3,200. And now it's just so much more expensive. Even, I would say between my brother and my sister and I, my brother's used his degree, but he didn't for probably the first 10 years after he graduated. I used my degree, but it didn't really contribute to a massive amount of income. And my sister never used her degree. So I think it's really important ahead of time to think, what is the cost benefit on this? Like how much is it going to cost and how much am I going to make? And if you can't make back the total cost of your college, if the total cost of your college is more than 1 or 2 years of your expected income in that field, I wouldn't do it.
And you should be like 100% sure you actually want to do that field, because I know for stuff like having a doctor's degree is incredibly expensive, and if you don't become a doctor, you're like never gonna pay that off.
Well, we have had people, we had one family contact us once because the guy went to law school and had hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, decided he didn't like law, he didn't want to practice law, and he wanted to be a pastor.
Just a second.
And they were wondering what we thought about them going bankrupt. And we said, well, sad news for you, you cannot go bankrupt on student loan debts. So once you have them, your option is to pay them off. And that's it. So I personally think that for many people, it's not really necessary. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer and you're absolutely sure you want to be a lawyer, then those are things that you have to have a degree for. Me, I went to film school. I learned a lot about making film and television. And it did help me some in my degree, but considering how much I got paid through my entire 20 years of doing it, it really wasn't. Well, because the cost of the college was so low, it would have been worth it. But if I had to pay the $60,000 or $80,000 that it would be now, it wouldn't have been worth it. And in that field, what I learned after being a production director, a guy who would hire a lot of people, is the degree was only important to get you the first interview. Once you had a job the first time, after that, the degree was irrelevant. So there are things where that's important, but I would say on the debt, because people say, well, it's really hard to try to get to work ahead of time, or to try to get grants and scholarships and things. And it is really hard. I know I've been there trying to do that. But the thing is, it's much harder to spend 30 years paying off student loan debt. Especially, I have so many people, and they just look at it as a fact of life. We have a friend, well, she used to be here in town. She said she was, 30? And she expected to be 65 before she was done. So I would pay off every extra you have. So
Do you
anyway.
live in the same town as your parents?
Pardon me?
Do you live in the same town? as
Yeah,
your
if that
parents?
happens.
I do not
we'd
live
be
in the same
dead
town as my
tomorrow.
parents.
Oof.
They live not too far away, but
They live about an hour and a half away.
yeah, but unfortunately, we don't really have a relationship with them at this point.
Man, my shirt.
There were it was a difficult situation growing up, and tried to kind of reconcile a lot of things over the years. And as much as we tried, it really just didn't work out. And then when my brother-in-law passed away and my niece there was nobody to stand in for her. She was my sister was her mom, but was having some major personal life problems and couldn't really take care of her in the way she needed to be. So we had to intervene in that, and that kind of broke what was left of the relationship with my parents. So we're not in the same town with them, but we also don't really have a relationship with them anymore.
I thought there weren't supposed to be we weren't allowed to be within 100 feet of each other's house.
No,
That was
during
my
court.
thing.
That was during court. Okay.
Yeah. How does working?
But yeah.
I think Amy's asking this. Amy T is asking a question. I think it's for you, Dave. How does working for your things make you appreciate the things you
You
have
feel
more?
super accomplished when you work up $1,400 to buy a super expensive camera, and then you're like, yes, I can actually do something productive. Oh my goodness, it's an awesome feeling. Yeah.
Yay! And actually,
It's
that's
super nice. It's very, very nice.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's one thing that's one of the reasons why. It's funny because some people think I would never charge my kids for things. We're not charging them. We're teaching them how to be invested in
How
the
to be
things
an
that you
adult.
have. How to be an adult. So,
Yeah.
like when Ellie and I 2 years ago went to Ireland and England and Scotland, the deal with traveling is kids pay. They pay for their part. I did end up putting a little bit in it where she didn't end up paying the full amount, but I didn't really tell her that.
But,
She
it's
paid
whatever.
most of it herself. But when I was 16, I went to college. I went to Europe with my school, and I worked really hard at a grocery store job all summer long to save up the money to go the next summer. But when I got there, all the other kids' parents had paid for them, and we got to Madrid, and all they wanted to do was get drunk every day. And they were just passed out in the hotel rooms throwing up all the time. And I was thinking, you have this opportunity to go to an amazing place out of the country and have this experience, but because your parents paid for it, you have absolutely no appreciation for the opportunity you have. So they were pretty much crashed in the hotel room the entire 2 weeks of that trip. And I ended up ditching the group and just going out on my own because I thought,
Hashtag rebel.
I paid for this and I'm not going to not have a European trip while I'm here. So that was kind of our motivation, like with Ellie and that trip.
Yes, bandana. Hashtag love for Dave. Go Dave, says Jasmine Brown.
Ooh, lots of hashtag love for Dave.
Hashtag love for Dave. Great, Dave. You're awesome. Love for Dave.
Dave has a great attitude about life. Good head on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Jack wants to show what crazy thing Mom did for dinner.
what crazy thing Mom made for dinner? Sure.
She made bread logs.
Ooh, yum.
Yeah, breadstick logs.
Oh, these were supposed to be breadsticks? Extra large breadsticks.
So you just
They
Yum.
smell good.
We made pizza, and she made
Here's the pizza.
breadstick logs.
This is the same pizza, except bigger, that I made 2 weeks ago? 1 week ago? I think it was 1
3
week
weeks ago.
I thought it was last week on
Oh.
Wednesday.
So Marilyn
yeah.
wants to know, do you think you live in an unpleasant home then?
Um.
Without all the stuff?
Oh. No. No.
Good. Oh, Kayla, other kids probably flock to Dave because he's a content creator. They probably want to learn to do all that stuff. They do, but he doesn't tell them right away.
Well, I don't like to say, hey, my parents have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and 400,000 followers on Facebook, because that's just bragging. That's just not cool. It's not fun.
It's not cool to go around saying how famous you are.
It's not fun to get attention by your social status on something.
Ooh.
Because then everyone always flocks to you and always wants to be part of your friend group, and you don't actually have real friends. Like, yeah. I'm gonna get some ranch for
Cheap
this.
living. I want to go back to school and I'm saving up for it. Good for you. One thing I think is good is I think it's good to be an adult and think I'm going to go back to school and save for it ahead of time, because at that point you have some sense of what it's really like in the real world. When your parents are paying for you or you're getting loans, in that case you feel like other people are paying for you, but really what's happening is you're stealing it from your own future. You don't really necessarily give a lot of thought to it. And somebody else was saying, somebody said something about people who change majors like they change their clothes. That's really common. And I would say that the college is good for certain things, but just like people think about it as it's a free thing to go to because I don't have to pay this moment.
I think of it like elementary school.
But the truth is, just like any other buying decision, college is a business, and just like any other buying decision, you have to think,
Will this benefit?
Is this product going to benefit me as much as it's going to cost me? And of course, I'd say most people in America can't even make that decision well about shoes. So for college, that's even worse. But I would say college is useful for some people, but I can't remember what the statistics are now, but I know greater than 50%, probably more than 70% of people don't really use their degrees at all. And a lot of people that get student loans don't think, hey, I got these student loans, I'm going to work through college and, it's just not working out and don't quit after 2 years. Well, you're stuck. You have to pay that. So that's a tough call. I'm only going back to that because I'm seeing in the comments.
How old is Dave?
How old are you, Dave?
How old am I? I am 15 and a half.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, so I'm almost 16.
You're not.
That's when I have to get a job.
Eco Vermont, have you thought of pitching to morning shows or Rachel Ray? Jordan Page of Fun, Cheap, or Free is on Rachel Ray occasionally, and she's a frugal YouTuber too. We haven't really thought of pitching that to anyone at this point. In the past, before we had a show, we used to be really entrenched in the media. Entrenched doesn't sound like a good word. We used to be really
Addicted?
involved in the media.
Oh, involved.
I've done over 400 interviews.
Yeah,
Oh, involved.
Tara
Oh.
did over 400
I
interviews.
thought you meant social media. I was like,
And we used to be featured in a lot of magazines, and Tara did a lot of radio shows and newspapers and television. But it was partly because she's chronically ill, but it was so much work to do that. And at the time, the work didn't match up with the amount of income that came from it. So there was a point, I think our very last time we had Parade magazine, the one that comes in the Sunday papers. And we were in Parade and they had 70 million viewers, and all these people were saying, this is like being on Oprah. You need to go and get order a bunch more books. And we did all this. And when it came out in the Parade magazine, because they have 70 million readers, no, we didn't sell. We sold 2 books, Tara said. And of course, partly they didn't publish exactly who we were in the story. They said who we were, but they didn't publish how to find us. But it took a full day of interviews and a photographer at the house. We had a photographer at the house and a makeup person and the person that was interviewing.
Please
and
tell
the
me you
whole
didn't
family
have
had to
to
be
pay for this.
home, and it was just a lot of crazy chaos. And there was a whole day before that of prepping for that. And we thought, we got a lot of people saw us, but it didn't really help the business any. And at that point, we had been doing so many, and Tara was pretty exhausted from all the interviews and things that we decided to cut that. So I think it would be awesome to be on Rachel Ray. But the funny thing is, Tara's more introverted, and she would like it, and she would go, probably if Rachel Ray asked her. But I would probably be the one that would like it better just because I'm extroverted.
You should have checked the mail. Margaret said, Dave, did you get the box yet? Margaret said that.
No.
I wonder if it's not that one, right? Oh, okay. Not yet, Margaret.
But we forgot to stop at the post office today. I totally spaced it, and he totally spaces it all the time, so you know.
It might be at the post office.
Yeah, it probably is, so we'll get to that Monday if it's there.
Wait, we need a drum roll. The Goshen family has arrived. Hello, out of Goshen. All right, well, what was it? There was something I was going to reply to. One thing about the Frugal thing with the kids, one thing I've noticed is kids that have, we know a lot of people whose kids have everything they want. And most of you probably know this, but if you don't know this, kids, when they get everything they want, they are a lot more rowdy most of the time because they end up having an expectation, and it makes them oftentimes less respectful to adults and less respectful of their things. And I've noticed, particularly, Jack's school has more people that are more careful about things, but still there are a lot of people that aren't. And
Jack's school has a lot of kids that are, well, except for the middle schoolers, because middle schoolers are middle schoolers. But, middle schoolers aren't just middle schoolers, but, they a lot of them like to act up. But his school has a lot less kids who are super rowdy and annoying because the dean of students and the principal get involved and teachers get involved a lot more.
Yeah. But what I was going to say on that, though, is when kids get a lot of, I've noticed kids that are given a lot of stuff all the time, they really are kind of discouraged or, I don't know,
They're
insecure about life. I've noticed there are specific people that one thing when I go to the school, I walk in with Jack almost every day. And because I'm social, I know everyone at the school. And I see certain kids, and I can tell by the way that they act, boys, that they don't really have dad at home very much. And a lot of times I can tell that mom is kind of compensated by giving them a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And they seem very insecure. And I realize part of that insecurity is not ever seeing dad. I mean, dad is still married to mom and dad still lives at the house, but they just don't see dad. But I think partly giving them a lot of stuff is not encouraging to them because, like, the other day the power went out, and even though the computer went off and Jack was playing on it at the time, he immediately went into other play mode.
At first I freaked out because I was doing something really, really important that I was working on for like 2 or 3 days, and I forgot to hit save, and I killed it. But it's all good. I started working on piano music while Jack started working on his circuit building thing. I think.
Yeah.
So
And yeah.
a quick short version of how to pay off your mortgage. Somebody's asking.
How to pay off your mortgage. Find every extra cent you can. Cut back things if you need to. I would cut back everything you can out of your budget and pay extra on it every month. And when you pay extra, I should have brought a statement in here. When you pay extra, it says on your statement, mortgage payment, and then it says additional principal and late fees or whatever else. You want to fill in on additional principal all the extra you're paying.
Also, don't buy new cars.
Wait, but hold on the mortgage.
Oh.
On the mortgage, you put every extra amount, you write it on additional principal, because the mortgage company, if you don't do that, they will not put it there, and it will not help you pay it off any faster. So I would pay absolutely as much as you can extra on the mortgage, and you'll get that thing gone. And it'll take a little while, but I think we're hoping, if we're really trying hard to get ours paid off this year. And if that's the case, we will have paid off a 30-year mortgage in 8 years. And really, we weren't trying very hard the first few years, so that's really, really cool. But definitely, you want to pay extra on it, and you want to make it additional principal.
What Secret Wonder said. Also, if you have a mortgage and you really, really, really want to pay it off, it's very useful not to buy new cars that are $100,000 or $50,000 or anything you have to get a loan on, because the loan money can actually go towards the house, and you'll pay it off a lot quicker.
How much extra would you recommend paying on the mortgage?
How much extra?
Every single
I would pay every dime you can extra on the mortgage, but I would say I really started to notice a big difference in the mortgage when I paid double payments. And the reason why is, especially, somebody was mentioning this earlier and I don't remember who it was, but the way the mortgages are structured, you pay all the interest up front. And like if you have a $100,000 house, you actually pay $300,000 over all the years with the interest or something like that. And so if you pay extra, it makes the most difference if you pay it in the beginning part of your mortgage. But I would pay as much as you can. But if you can pay more than an extra payment, especially at the beginning of the mortgage, let's say you have $1,000 payment at the beginning of your, I'm just using a round number. That's probably low for a lot of people if you're in California or something, or Colorado. But let's say you have $1,000 payment. At the very first payment of your mortgage, that's probably paying off $150 or $200 of your principal. And that the principal is how much you actually owe. So all the rest of that money is going to interest, which is what you get for just the benefit of being able to borrow the money from them. So really, if you pay off your house fast, like in 10 years instead of 30 years, you can end up paying half or less the price that you're actually paying if you wait 30 years for your mortgage. And that money is available to you later. So one of the things that we're looking at is I've been paying double payments, like I said, for at least 2 years consistently. So our payment's like $1,100 a month, and I paid at least double that. So what that means is when I've been consistently paying the $2,200 or more, and that means that as soon as we pay it off, every month we're going to have that much money just available.
Well, yeah, that much money to buy games and buy TV.
No,
and buy...
that much money to buy rental real estate to use for making income that
you could purchase a new building to Airbnb to people, so then you can make even more money.
Does even a small amount extra help on your mortgage?
Yes, every extra amount helps on your mortgage, but I would always mark it as additional principal. And I think in the early days when we first thought we'd like to do that.
$5, the $5 one.
So here's the thing. There was a time where we really had a very small amount of money, but we were like, we're never going to get the mortgage paid off if we don't think of doing extra on it. And in those days, our income was pretty low, and I'd pay like $50 extra. And of course, that was a while back. So in today's dollars, that might be like $150 extra. But the thing is, every bit counts towards knocking that off. It's the same way with any kind of debt. If you think, wow, we're going to pay as much extra as we can. And then we started to evaluate things like, wow, cable, do we really watch cable? I don't know. Of course, our cable thing, we ended up having
satellite? No, wait, no.
We had cable, and then we had satellite, and then we had cable again, and then they were showing Girls Gone Wild videos on Saturday morning while the kids were watching cartoons.
With baby Dave, who was 2 years old.
And we're like, yeah, okay, we're done with cable. Yeah. And up to that point, we were already kind of on the fence about whether cable was worth the money, but for that reason, we did not want our kids seeing that stuff. And so we just cut it, and we really haven't missed it at all. So we started to evaluate things like, wow, we pay this much every month for something. Do we really need that? And then sometimes we would I used to collect a lot of stuff when I was a teenager and before I met Tara. And partly, I don't know, somewhere in my family I picked up, I think it was my grandmother maybe, probably both of my grandparents, that, oh, that stuff is valuable. You need to hang on to that. That's valuable. And there's a point where I realized, why am I keeping this? And so I sold a bunch of things. Some of it I found out had no value at all, and I just got rid of it so I wouldn't have to be emotionally responsible for it anymore.
Dave, you are growing up before our eyes. Such a difference since you started homeschooling. You are a wise young man. Yes, I am.
You are
thank
a
you.
wise young man.
Now we need to work on
Now I need to work on
what's it
what is it called?
Humbleness.
Yeah,
called? Being humble.
being
Okay.
humble.
One thing, back to the mortgage again. Maricela, I pay our mortgage online. How do we pay online to go to principal? Okay, I pay ours online too. And when you go through the payment process, there should be a place where it says something like pay a single payment. And if you click on that, it's either already there's an option that's like boxes and one says additional principal, and you can just put the amount in there. But if that doesn't show up, I think on ours, it says single payment, and then there's a little link that says like advanced options. And if you click on that, it opens up a thing and you can see additional principal and other stuff. And you definitely want to put it on additional principal, even if it's $50.
Check to make sure they did it when you get your statement.
Yeah, and then when the statement comes the next time, make sure that it actually posted as principal on the statement. Because the first time I did that on the mortgage we have at this house, they didn't do that, and they tried to persuade me to just leave it the way it was, because you won't have a payment next month. I was thinking, yeah, but my house isn't going to get paid off any faster if I'm not making payments. So anyway, hey Dave, somebody was asking. I'll wait till you get over here for that. Kayla, I'm a single mom with no dad at home for my child. Jill's been a huge inspiration for me. You know, she'll be blessed to hear that, and I will tell her. And I know it's a big challenge. And honestly, one of the things I think of, because most of the boys I was talking about have a dad in the family, but there's more value on a lot of money than on being home.
Yeah, I have
But-
a friend who has a dad like that.
But I do try, because I'm there a lot, if I go to a lot of events, I try to be encouraging to a lot of those kids, because I think I'm not their dad, I can't be their dad, and I'm not going to be around all the time, but they see me every day. And I think if I come in and say something encouraging to them and notice them,
Dude,
call them by name,
with so many of
there's
my
some
friends,
value in that. So
he's been the dad figure for like 6 of my friends, haven't you?
yeah.
Because we used to hang out a lot with all these different friends who, like, their dads would be at, like, work or something. And he would just brighten up their day right away. It'd all be super, yeah.
Well, yeah, I try, because I think,
Their attitude also improved from when I first met them to after this guy. Yeah. After this guy was talking to them a lot and stuff like that.
yeah. Let's see.
Oh, what was the question that you needed me to...
Oh, somebody asked about
Dave is very mature because he is actually parented. Yes, Carol, I am.
somebody asked about homeschool.
With
and I
good
can't remember what they asked you about homeschool.
Aw, thanks, Dave.
Well, I mean, you can be parented with parents who basically abuse you, and that's not good at all. Because, yeah, they're reasonable.
Aw, thanks. It's funny because a lot of our kids' friends, friends thought that we were extra strict. But extra strict meant you can't stay up till midnight and watch R-rated movies when you're 10. And now I think they have a greater appreciation for why we did that. And there were some movies where they're not bad movies, but just at that time in their lives, they were too intense for what they were accustomed to. So, like, I've seen kids, we've gone to like Avengers movies where there's lots of shooting and fighting and stressful things. Or we've gone to some movies where there was a lot of...
Well, they're PG-13.
We went to a Star Wars
Long story
movie
short.
where these stormtroopers come in and they kill a whole bunch of people. They just shoot down a whole bunch of people. And I was thinking, and there were people with like 4-year-old kids in the front row, and they were saying, "Why is he doing that to those people, Mommy?" And I was thinking, we were
Why?
the strict parents that would say, "No, you guys can't see that." And there were some things that the kids, our older kids, now they watch it and they say, "Why didn't you let us watch that?" And like, well, because at that time you weren't 20.
Oh, like when I was this age, I used to want to watch Lord of the Rings all the way through, and I didn't realize, was it the Two Towers or Return of the King that had Release the Prisoners?
Oh, that was in Return of the King.
Yeah. There was this one scene that was pretty gruesome, and if I was his age, I would have been terrified to see it. And I'm glad they did not show me that when I was his age.
Well, and what's funny is it's hard to realize, but when I was a kid, it wasn't just my parents. I think a lot of parents did this, but there was this. It was during the Cold War, and a lot of us kids were kind of afraid that we were all going to be destroyed in a nuclear fire bath at some point. And there was this mini series that came on TV called The Day After. And it was just about this nuclear war and then all these people that are trying to survive in the fallout afterwards. And I remember being terrified by that when I was 10, maybe. And I really, it occupied my mind a lot for a couple of years after that. And I think as parents, sometimes we don't realize the things that go on in our kids' minds. And what made me realize that, we were watching when BJ and Ellie were in elementary school. I think it was BJ's class went to see The City of Ember, which is an amazing, brilliant
that
movie.
movie is so good.
It's a great movie. It's targeted at like 10 to 13-year-old kids, somewhere around there. But it's really good. Even as an adult, I really enjoyed it. But it's a great movie about this underground city that they're trying to figure out. They don't know they're underground. They don't know that there's anything beyond where they are. And it's a big challenge, and these kids have to solve the puzzle.
And like, after a timer runs out or something, all the electricity goes out.
Well, there's a power plant that runs everything, and it's failing. And as far as everyone knows, there's nothing beyond the blackness. But these kids are like, I think there's something. But it's not. It's much kind of smarter put together than a lot of movies that are targeted at that group. So even as an adult, it's really compelling.
Really good.
And so we were watching this movie, and Dave at the time was like 3 or 4 years old, I think. And there was a point, it didn't even occur to me that this might be a troubling movie, but there was this giant rat thing that they had.
It was a mole.
In the background, a mole.
I think it was a mole, and it was like, the kids were like running through hallways or something, and the mole was like chasing them or something, and you'd see it like bust through walls.
I think it just went by. But anyway.
But that terrified me. I still remember that.
He was like 4, and he just heard the music building. He's like, oh, this is the scary part. He ran out. And I realized, we have to think about that. Because when our older 2 kids were 3 and 2, I worked for PBS. And in those days, right after September 11th happened, people were saying, how do you tell your kids about September 11th? And I was thinking, I don't. Because at this age, they're not, well, first of all, even if they were older, they can't change it. There's a point where where it's a good idea for them to know, just to realize what the world is like.
I mean, like, but
when they're little, it's just going to scare them unnecessarily, and that will last for a long time. So go ahead.
Like, they used to tell me, one time there was like a tornado like 2 or 3 miles away. I mean, not 2 or 3, like 10 miles away or something. And so we were in the zone where people thought the tornado was going to go, I think, right? Yeah. So tornado warning for us. And they would calmly and quietly say, okay, come on, kids, let's get in the... let's get into the tornado shelter. And I'd be like, what's a tornado? And they'd just be like, oh, it's a really bad storm. But they wouldn't be like, you're all going to die if you don't get in the tornado shelter. Yeah.
Really, we try to keep calm about everything with the little kids, because we don't want them to be terrified. Particularly, like I said, with things that they can't control in any way. Mm-hmm. What are we all cooking for dinner? Tara made homemade pizza.
And
a giant bread log.
And the breadstick log.
Breadstick log. Let's see, I'm looking quickly through. Oh, April, I brought your new cookbook recently. Love it. Yay, I'm glad.
Oh, did we get all those sent out?
Yes. Oh, so, well, of course, the new ones were out. We had that sale at Christmas. Everyone should have received those. If you haven't, you need to contact us, editor at livingonadime.com. Oh, Tara says if you haven't gotten a book and you want to order one, the shipping goes up Sunday. So Oh yeah. So Tara says you'll have to order it.
We have to order it by tonight so we can ship it tomorrow.
Oh,
You have to order it tonight, so then we can ship it tomorrow before the postage goes
because
out on Sunday.
the post office is raising their rate. So if you want to take advantage of that, you can get it sooner than that. So how can you back out of a car loan if you want to try to save money? I'm not really an expert in that, T. Martin. I would say my belief is that you probably would want to sell it, and then you'd unfortunately be short, and you'd have to pay some of it back yourself. If you owe $10,000, I don't know how much your car originally was, but if that's not a significant amount of the original price, you may not be able to sell it for near that. So I'm not totally sure. We don't ever get car loans for that reason, is that it ends up taking a lot. What if the car was more expensive? I would sell it. Like, we have a friend who has a pickup. I think it was $60,000, and it's kind of drowning them some. And I said, hey, I think you should sell the pickup. He's like, but if we sold it, then we'd owe $10,000. I'm like, yeah, but you wouldn't owe $60,000, and then you could buy it, because we pay $3,000 to $5,000 for vehicles, and they're good vehicles because we shop carefully, and that doesn't mean we have to spend a year looking, but we do look at a number of them until we find one that's in great shape. That basically we can't find anything wrong with it. So in his case, I think you could sell the pickup for $60,000. You'd owe $10,000, sadly, but at least you'd be out from under the whole $60,000, and then you buy a different vehicle for $3,000, and you could pay that off pretty quick.
Buy a Toyota Camry.
Especially since the $3,000 vehicle, I would never get a loan on it. We just pay cash for those, and we always have, even when we had no money. We'd tighten it up and save until we could do that. And before that, I ended up. Before that, I used to fix them myself, although I absolutely hate doing that. So the moment when we got enough money that I didn't have to do the work on the cars myself, I didn't. So.
Tell Turin hi.
Hi, Turin, Tara says, and I say it too. Adulting, totally off topic, but did we ever get your official vote on the Instant Pot?
Oh man.
Tara made it the other day. She made something the other day, and it was good.
Chicken and broth. It's better.
She made chicken and broth. She says, well, it did better.
Except for when the power went out.
Oh yeah, our power did go out while she was doing it. I was thinking about trying to do it just to see what I think about that. So,
Dude, we had a lot of weird events over the last week. We had snow, which we almost never get in Colorado. Then we had 2 power outages. Ugh, it's weird.
Wow. Oh hey, somebody here saying. Talking about, look for a home you love, then buy a home for half of that, but pay what you would have for the more expensive home. We're paying ours off 10 years earlier than our original loan doing this. That's a good idea. Something else I got to thinking, though, as people were asking about mortgages, if you haven't bought a house yet, we found that if we go in there, they'll say, oh, you can afford a $700,000 house or some kind of crazy high amount. I mean, I'm just throwing a number out there. We haven't actually heard that. But there was a time when we were in Kansas. There was a time where we thought we could afford $140,000, something like that, for a house. We went in the bank and they're like, "Oh, you qualify for $300,000." Well, there was absolutely no way we could pay $300,000, and we had no car payments, we had no other debt, but we were thinking, "There's no way we could pay that." So, if you're thinking about buying a house, if you go to a bank and they tell you this is how much you can afford. What they're telling you is usually a lot more than is wise to afford if you ever want to pay it off.
Well, and it's just a business to get your money. I mean,
yeah.
Because don't they earn back more money than they gave you in the first place? Oh man, I don't remember. I have to look more into business and marketing and all that. And loans and all that stuff.
Yes, they get like 3 times the amount you pay for the house.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So if you paid $100,000 per house, they would give $300,000.
I thought so, because we've been doing algebra stuff, and you have to calculate how much you could earn if you were investing in something.
Yeah.
All this really complicated stuff that hurts my brain, but it's fine.
Colors of Avon. I thought Wizard of Oz and the Dark Crystal were scary too. You know what?
Oh my Wizard
Tara
of Oz.
has-
Wizard of Oz is from Satan.
Tara has never allowed any of the kids to watch The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Because
Just
she
the
was
Tin Man.
terrified.
It's
Just-
horrible.
And when I was growing up, my dad used to say that the flying monkeys terrified him when he was 5, and he didn't ever want to watch it either. And so I could see how... That's the thing I was thinking is, as
Well,
adults...
The Tin Can Man. Oh.
The Tin Man?
That scared
Actually,
me the most.
he's-
I don't know why.
Probably how old were
Just,
you?
well, I was like 3 when I first saw it.
You didn't see
and
the whole
then-
movie, though, right?
No, but I saw scenes of it, and I just didn't like the style at all. They looked freaky.
Yeah. Oh, some people were asking. The movie that we were highly recommending is called City of Ember. Ember, like the little bit of flame that's
Like
left
an
from a fire just
ember
before it
fire.
burns out.
I think that's why
it's
it's called
really a
that.
good movie, and I think it didn't do that well in the theater. I think just because it wasn't promoted very much by the company that made it. But it's a fantastic it's a fantastic movie. It's really ideal for
It's not for kids under 7, but
10. I'd say 10 to 13 or 14 would really like it. As adults, I loved it too. So I thought it wasn't at all boring as an adult. So it was a good movie. So let me see what else we have here. I guess we're getting close to the end for today. My mom made a roast the other night and gave me the rest yesterday. Dinner tonight. Yay. Oh, we do have a slow-cooked roast recipe that's really awesome. At the moment, I don't have a link ready for it, but if you go to livingonadime.com, you can click roast, slow-cooked roast in the search, and you'll find it. And it's also in our Dining on a Dime cookbook, which I will share a link for because I keep forgetting to do
on the
that.
subject of movies, Narnia was really good.
You like the Narnia movies?
Yeah, when I was like Jack's age, Narnia was awesome. He's like 9, by the way. Narnia was, well, at least the first one was really awesome. I don't really remember the second one, and I haven't seen the third one.
At the time, there's
But
one
the
scene in
first-
the second one that kind of was extra scary for our older kids, so we didn't let him watch that one scene. And the third movie had a spot that it wasn't inappropriate or anything. It was just really intense visuals for the age he was.
Well, yeah, it
How
was
can I send
Jack's
this video
age.
to show my husband? Just go back on Facebook, on Living on a Dime, and click on videos.
On YouTube or Facebook?
So on Facebook or YouTube, you can go back and watch this video after it's done, because somebody was asking about how to do that. The person that asked is on Facebook. So for you, if you go to Living on a Dime, facebook.com/Living on a Dime, or just Living on a Dime on Facebook, and then click on videos, you can find it right there. Same thing on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and Living on a Dime, and it'll be right there. So.
Dave will be a wonderful
Clara.
husband.
Tell Clara she better be paying cash for that pizza she's ordering.
Tara says you should be paying cash for that pizza you're ordering. Oops, wait, what does it say about the mortgage payment?
I don't know what that is.
Ditching the grind. Yes, the mortgage payment does include escrow. And when I said our mortgage payment is $1,100, that's because we put $60,000 down when we bought the house. For most of the people here, their mortgages are a lot higher than that. So, ooh, Nicole, happy anniversary. Nicole, hi everyone. It's my 28-year wedding anniversary today. Congratulations. Let's see. That is awesome.
Yeah.
We're glad for the hashtag love for Dave.
For all the hashtag love for
Who
Dave.
thinks Mom should give Dave kisses?
No, do not answer that.
Who thinks Mom should
Do
give Dave
no.
Oh.
I will turn
Oh.
off the mic.
Tanya at the beginning of the show asked, does Tara have a DIY room freshener like Febreze?
hugs? I just use cinnamon and oranges and cloves in a pot of boiling water.
Oh, right. Tara says she uses cinnamon, orange, and cloves in a pot of boiling water. I totally forgot. When we first met, she was making potpourri, and she had this little storefront that she was setting up when I met her, and she sold that. Seeing if there are any questions in the list that I should have answered. Do you homeschool?
Dave, scoot over so they can see the tree. It's going to be going away.
Do we homeschool all of our children? Are you taking it down or are you putting it up to February?
February.
So this is
January tree is going away.
So, I don't know, 10 years ago, Tara got the idea, 15 years ago, Tara got the idea to keep the tree a little longer because the kids love the decorations.
We still do.
So she started making a January tree, and then eventually she made a Valentine's tree, and then a
Do you make that?
St. Patrick's Day tree, and then a
Do we make an
Easter tree. So And by then, usually everybody's ready for it to go. But sometimes it doesn't last that long. But this year, this is the January version, which is why it's all blue and silver. But she said she's about to switch it over to the February.
Oh,
Somebody asked, I didn't see it.
hang on. I mean, man, this smells.
Barbara, do you homeschool all your children? We do not. We actually do as much as possible. We try to have them in school. But we had a problem with our oldest, and we ended up having to try to homeschool him for a while. And then we ended up homeschooling our daughter because she begged us to at the same time, because some of the stuff that was catastrophic for our son at the school was bothering our daughter too, and they were both glad to be out of there. Dave, we tried him in the high school here, and it wasn't working at all. It was really not working at all. And so we're homeschooling him now. Jack and Dave, previously we had in a charter school, which is in a nearby town.
That was a pretty good school, to be honest. It was nice, except for the fact that I didn't really talk to anyone. But you know what?
You had a ton of friends. You had a lot of friends.
Oh,
there.
yeah. And then my 8th grade science teacher started saying that aliens were the ones who helped us kickstart our lives, and
created
we
everything.
created all this other stuff and man a machine and all that.
But I will say that I think the school was unaware that teacher was teaching that.
Yeah,
because when Tara and one of the other parents brought it to their attention, it was like a month before the end of the school year, and he was gone at the end of that school year. That was the end of him there. Oh, well, he said he was already leaving, but I'm not sure if that's true. But otherwise, that school has been great. And the difference on the charter schools is they are public schools, but...
Well, it was true that he was leaving beforehand, but the principal did tell him to apologize and retract everything he'd said before.
Because he was kind of...
Because he was
attacking kids.
he was really tacky about it.
He was kind of encouraging certain kids to gang up on other kids and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was an experience.
Jennifer says, take me to your leader.
Well, what's funny is...
Jennifer, I'm right here.
So I'm the person that often, well, Tara and I both do this, but I often go into the school and have some firm conversations if there's a problem.
You will not do this again.
Had to do that a couple of times at the charter school, but both times I didn't have to be too firm, and they worked out the problem. But at other schools, sometimes I had to be really firm. And
in the elementary school.
Yeah, well, at the elementary school, the music teacher was basically abusing all the kids, bullying all the kids, and I had absolutely zero patience with that, and yeah, I said, this will not happen again. Like, okay, we can't talk to the principals next week, but I'm telling you, this will not happen. And
I remember being there for that conversation,
because
actually. Wait,
you weren't there.
No,
for that.
I mean, I remember being there in the line when he was super strict. Oh man, he was just...
But Tara caught him in the midst of what he was doing, too, so...
Yeah, she was coming to go get me lunch. I mean, to go to lunch with me in school, because that's what she likes to do occasionally. And, yeah, she was standing right there, right behind him as he was scolding.
He was calling kids names and telling them that they were stupid, and, like, one or two kids were misbehaving, and he was...
He was doing class punishment.
He was yelling at the whole... First of all, we don't think that they should ever call kids stupid and do that. But we also are very much opposed to group punishment. Because I think if kids learn other kids are misbehaving and I'm doing the right thing and I get in trouble, then what reason is there for me to ever do the right thing? So I think only kids who are misbehaving should have some consequences for that. And kids that are behaving well should be rewarded for behaving well. And that's how kids end up behaving well. So, actually, it's funny, though, the one teacher, the aliens teacher, the one that was telling them that everything came from aliens, actually, he said everything came from aliens, and that's how we know there's no God. I'm like,
well, he was saying, he's saying
stupid.
Everything came from aliens, there's no God, but the Bible that talks specifically about God is just talking about aliens, and that God is aliens.
But he used Ancient Aliens show from
you know,
History Channel as his basis of fact. But anyway, it turns out I'm the one that usually goes in with the firm talk, because I can be diplomatic but get the message across in a very firm way.
Yeah.
And so Tara contacted me because Ellie and I were in Scotland of all things. And I was thinking, it's going to be another 10 days before I can be home. And I was thinking, oh, of course, this would come up while we're gone. But Ellie and I went into a comic book shop in Edinburgh, and we were like, oh, no, it was in Glasgow. And I found this poster that said, I want to believe, and it had pictures of little flying saucers. So I texted that back to Tara and said, I think we should buy this for that teacher.
Yeah.
How old are you, Dave?
Oh, I'm 15. The teacher also had really, really, really weird, I don't know, would you say political ideas?
Yeah.
Like really weird ideas, and he was just super, yeah. Except he was nice, I'll give him that. He was nice when he actually, pretended like he cared. But, yeah.
Wait, the teacher?
Yeah, the teacher. He was super calm and nice when, we're not referring to politics or atheism or
Whatever.
religion or any of that.
Yeah. Encore, we are not from Canada. We are from the United States, and we currently live in Colorado.
Are we that nice?
Are we that nice? Yeah, we actually. That's a compliment for our Canadian
Everybody's
friends.
loving your studio audience.
Woohoo! Yes, we do have a studio audience today. A studio audience of one and Buster. Buster's like
I would pull off the camera. But...
an old puppy dog in his retirement. So,
Jennifer said he was a nice alien, your teacher.
the teacher was a nice alien. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to just see if there's anything else here. I see some other questions, but... BL Blazy, my best experience was my daughter in school is being a friend with the principal outside of school. Yeah. Yes. Punish the ones that do the
I
wrong.
want to
Yes.
talk about how my 3 weeks worth of work has been for nothing.
You'll have to talk about it when you get back. So what are we doing for the Monday show? I don't know. Dave was saying today he was really having a craving to make...
I am very hungry for meatballs.
He wants meatballs.
Meatballs or hamburgers.
Is Tara feeling rested? Don't get me started on that. That's funny.
Oh, also, it was super fun though because in that what?
I'm going to say something controversial about school after you say this.
In that school, I had a lot of Christian friends, and we all knew what we were talking about. So, the teacher would say stuff tacky, enforcing the atheism idea, and then kids would tell us, oh yeah, see, now that's why there's no God. But then we would be able, it was super funny because since there were like 10 of us, we could easily, one of us knew the answer to their question. And so we could always respond, and it was super fun.
What's your controversy?
My controversial thing. Connie says, my son was being beat up in the boys' bathroom. I was told by a teacher she wasn't allowed to go inside the boys' bathroom. I told the teacher I'd walk in there, and if I see boys beating up my child, I'll take matters into my own hands. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So as a parent,
dude, violence was a issue for me too.
I have to say, well, first of all, I'll say when BJ, our oldest, was younger, there was a kid who was being really passive aggressive with him. He's like, oh, hey, let's be friends. Let's do this together. And then he'd throw a rock at BJ and hit him in the head or something.
Oh,
And his mother worked at the school, and the school was terrified to say anything to her. And he would be nice, and then he would be a bully. And then he'd be nice, and he'd be a bully. And I kept going in and talking to the principal. And one day I went in and I said to the principal, this must stop. This is like the 3rd time I've come and talked to you. I don't care if you guys are afraid of her. And you don't have to tell me you're afraid of her, but I know you are. And I said, so here's the thing. I've told my son from now on that you're going to take care of the problem, and you're going to have the teacher resolve that situation and handle this child. And if the teacher doesn't do it, I told my son I'm authorizing him to take whatever action is necessary to solve this problem. And, well, after that, I told every one of the kids, mostly the boys, but Ellie kind of got it a little bit too. But I know this particular aspect is more of an issue with the boys, although I know girls can be kind of mean and
girls
nasty
rough
too.
it up more.
But I said, each
boys
one of the
rough it up
boys, I
more.
said, here's the thing. In school, You want to behave. You don't want to get in trouble. You want to do what the teacher asks you to do and do your work and all this stuff. But there's going to be that one kid in school, and he's going to pick on everybody. And he's going to kick somebody, and he's going to hit you in the head and poke you in the back with a pencil. And he's going to do all kinds of crazy stuff. And no matter what anybody says, the teachers aren't going to, they're not going to notice it. Nobody's going to do anything because maybe they don't notice it, or maybe they do notice it and they just don't want to get involved, whatever. But you're going to have to take that kid out. And it's going to happen probably at least once in your school time. You're going to have to take him out. And I know that sounds rough and controversial to a lot of people, but it's happened with both BJ and Dave, where BJ was in the 8th grade, and he went into a classroom and 3 kids were waiting to just pounce on him and start beating him up just because he was there. And he looked up for a second, because one of them hit him in the stomach and he kind of went down, and he looked up for a second and he saw the one that he thought was the leader, and he punched him in the face, and all of them ran. And then he left. He just turned around and walked out without his stuff and left it in the classroom.
Should I talk about
we heard that the teacher had brought in a bunch of kids and interviewed them, and his friends had said BJ was the instigator. So we went in the very next day to the principal. Well, the principal hadn't heard the story yet, but he was saying, "Oh yeah, those kids are trouble," and BJ didn't get in any trouble. But part of the thing with him is, it surprised the bullies because he had never done it before, so it was a lot of shock and awe for him to suddenly respond. And he didn't pile on and just beat the tar out of somebody. He hit him once. And he hit the leader, because the leader goes down, all the coyotes flee, usually. And that was the last time he had a problem at that school. Dave also had a situation. Two?
Well, one of them was more of an emotional situation. The kid was basically babied by his mom, who was the principal of the school, who gave him everything he wanted. And some of the kids claimed he got, his mom, gave him A's or whatever. I'm not sure about that, but because that's very illegal if she did do that. But he would constantly, in 6th grade, he would go up to us and he would talk to us and tease us about how he was going to tell certain groups of girls that we want to marry them or date them or something. And after that kid, we had to tell him, me and my friends had to tell him, we can't do this. I mean, what was it?
I don't know.
I told him.
I don't know what the story is you're talking about.
I
know who you're talking about, but I don't remember the story. I was thinking the one that actually was physically.
But then, the principal's son, we told the dean of students, and the dean of students was ruthless, even to him. And we told him that we were going to tell the dean of students, and he just started sobbing and tried to doggy us into not telling the dean of students that he was trying to bully us. And so, we got him in trouble with that. And then we just avoided him, but he wanted to be my best friend for the next 3 years. And then there was also this one other kid who kept on, he seemed like he had some sort of life emotion issue. Because he always would say super tacky stuff to you. But to me, personally, I'd be walking around with my friends, and then he'd just poke me randomly. Or come up to me and, roughen up or something. So one day, I was walking with my friends, and he, jumped on top of my back and tried to pull my glasses off, and I just rolled over on top of him.
Well, you hit him once, too.
Yeah, I rolled him over, so he fell on the ground, and then I kind of hit him once to be stop. And then he also wanted to be my best friend, and we're still friends, but he's kind of he's still touchy.
But he's not.
He no longer comes up to me and attacks me because I'm
he's not trouble anymore.
I'm I'm not. I don't want to be part of any fights or anything, and I made it clear. And he knows I can.
Well, as a parent, I would say I don't want them to just be fighting, because BJ, when he did that, he had a friend who saw that and said, "Oh man, I'm going to stand up for myself," and then he started just causing fights for no reason. And my thinking is, I was also bullied like that as a kid, and for a long time nobody knew and wasn't doing anything. And I realized, you know what?
Well,
If some of the kids are really crafty, and sometimes the adults are otherwise engaged, for whatever reason, I'm thinking no reason that kids should constantly be enduring that. And I've noticed when I was a kid, if somebody did something about it, if one of the other kids did something about it, the bullies would not suddenly not behave that way anymore. And like in BJ's school, those kids weren't friends with him, but they pretty much left everyone alone after that. In David's school, they all became his best friends.
well, and that specific one, I'm not going to say his name because if he does ever watch this, I'm sure he wouldn't want me to say his actual name. But this kid, then this guy was introduced to him, and he was super wavy and happy and smiley to him all the time.
Be like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Gallo,
Yeah.
is Dave around? Tell Dave I said hi."
Yeah.
I thought that. I mean, he turned out to be a nice kid in the end. But I think it's funny because
I think his issue was that he had an emotional problem, and he thought it was okay to just go up to people and beat them up, and that everyone's against him and stuff.
well, and the thing
But-
is, these kids
Yeah.
they need something positive, but sometimes only the positive isn't enough. Like,
Sometimes you need to kind of
they
push
need
them into the.
they need to understand their boundaries. And I'm not saying kids should just go pound all the bullies, but I'm just saying at some point somebody's never going to leave them alone unless they do something. And it's obviously something like this I'm talking about. I'm not talking like a big something. I'm just talking about like, okay, you're going to have to show this kid that you're not putting up with it anymore. and then after that, the kids were all fine. So I
Well-
always say it's the last resort, and to be honest, with BJ it only ever happened once in all of his school years. Dave, well, the one
Yeah,
kid you're talking about, you
happened-
just told him you were going to tell, and he cried, right? Like, you
Well,
didn't do
yeah,
anything to
I told him we were going to tell, and then I actually told the dean of students, and she dealt with that. So that one didn't require any fighting, but he was really passive aggressive, where he was like, "Oh yeah, let's be friends," and then he'd say, "Oh, I'm going to go tell this person that something about me," and it'd be super, super weird. And the dean of students obviously dealt with him because he stopped doing that, and he started to want to do everything with us, well, with me and my friends. And yeah, it just got really.
Yeah. BL Blazy, you helped him then. Yeah, probably so. I think,
Oh, help me.
no, you helped him in a sense by
Oh.
resisting, because they get the positive things, but they also get this is what happens if you step into the negative zone.
Okay,
Um,
Studio Audience is tired.
And
Well, then you go to bed.
one other person said something about it. I told my son it's allowed to defend yourself, but he's not allowed to start it. Yeah, well, and even then, I tell them, don't fight back just because somebody does something. It has to be really bad, because there's going to be a lot of people that say stuff, and for those people, you mostly just need to ignore them and walk away. But there's certain kids that they're going to be physical, and they're never going to leave anyone alone. But I noticed that other kids, a lot of times they leave other kids alone after that. And I was really proud of our oldest BJ when he was in kindergarten. There were some like second or third graders that were fighting with, or basically tormenting another kindergartner in the bathroom. And BJ went in there and stopped it. And his teacher told me that this had happened, and I was thinking, wow, I'm kind of proud of him for that. And ever since then, I thought, if they start a fight and they get in trouble, they're on their own. And I told him
Like
the
they're
same
not
thing.
going to intervene on that.
If you start a fight and you get in trouble, you have to pay the consequences. That's the way it is. But if you're defending yourself in a serious situation,
Or someone else.
or if you're coming to the rescue of somebody who's being tormented who cannot do anything about it, I will stand there and back you on that, even if the school expels you. And the school never did, because the school in those situations, in our situation, I think the schools were pleased. I think that they were pleased to see, okay, that situation worked out okay. what am I saying? In the situations where I were,
They're pleased to
they
see
knew
that.
the kids were misbehaving, and in a sense, I thought that there was a sense that natural consequences might help those kids learn to not do that anymore. So that was good. I didn't. The original story I said where I told the teacher, or the principal, with BJ, that if they didn't take care of it, I told him he needed to do whatever he could. I would authorize him to do what he needed to do to stop that problem with the bullying there. At that time, the principal was like, "Oh, no, don't do that. Don't tell him that." And I was thinking, hey, somebody has to be responsible for this, and it can be you or it can be him. And so they talked to the mother of that kid and got him to stop. So anyway, that was a long way around, but yes, I kind of think I did tell BJ at that time when he was in middle school after that one thing, I said, the reason why it was very effective for you is they're not accustomed to thinking you're that kind of kid. And so when you fight back, they're surprised and it's more effective. It's more of a message for them than if you're doing that all the time. So anyway, I guess Tara says the studio audience is tired and I told her she can go, but yeah, actually we do try to, it's funny because Julia is saying, I wonder how many children are bullies because they don't know how to have healthy relationships. One thing I have to say, parents, it really takes a lot of thought to be in your child's life in a way that's going to turn them in a positive direction. And I remember when our oldest son was born, I was very aware of the harm that parents do to their kids. Sometimes not because they mean to, sometimes just because they're too busy thinking about themselves. Sometimes they're lashing out about their own problems and they turn it towards their kids and they think, I yell sometimes. Yeah, no, that becomes permanent in your kid's mind.
Like the super passive aggressive, I'm gonna attack you, and then sorry, that was an accident, I didn't mean to do that. Like, it's not really...
Well, saying I'm sorry is helpful, but then changing and not doing it anymore is more important. But
well, yeah, if you never change, your kids are always gonna be like, Mom and Dad are touchy, and they do random stuff, and I don't know what they're gonna do today, so, God help me, please.
Well, and it's a delicate balance. You can't be perfect. But at the same time, there are times where you think, man, I just couldn't control myself. Well, you have to control yourself or else they're going to suffer like a lot more permanent damage. And I speak from personal experience in some ways that I think my parents sometimes dealing with their own problems and not really giving a lot of thought to how it was affecting us really scarred me and my siblings. And I thought about that with our kids, like, okay, I'm really frustrated in this situation. I'm really upset in this situation. What do I do? And I remember thinking, I have to be different. And there were times where it was really hard. Like when Ellie was a baby, she had, I think if you've watched enough of our shows, you might have heard, she had a stomach problem that was undiagnosed for a while, a month or two, 1 month. When she was born, she screamed blood-curdling screams all day long, every single day. And it's not an exaggeration in any way. And the doctors kept saying, oh, you don't know what this is. And she would just scream these hideously bad screams. And it felt to me like she's doing this to me on purpose, And I realized, man, I cannot lash out at this child. and I can feel that it's really affecting me in a negative way. And I was thinking, I have to set her down and go in the other room and let Tara deal with that.
Put her in what are those silence chambers where it's like the super padded foamy stuff on the outside? Just stick her in there.
But I realized there are a lot of times where, you have to be really careful about how you handle your kids, or there will be consequences in their lives that will last a lot longer than you live most of the time. But I remember there was one time where I was riding a bicycle, and I think I got my foot caught in the chain or something. I don't know. It was something happened. It really hurt, and I got off the bike and I got all mad, and I started kicking the bike and all this, and then I looked up and I saw the kids looking out the window, and I was like, okay, I feel really stupid. So
Wait, was I
don't
alive when that happened?
we were at Andover, yeah.
Oh, I don't
It didn't
remember.
happen real often, but occasionally if something was like that, I would tell them, okay, that really was not okay. And, and if it was something that directly affected them, I would apologize to them for that. But
hopefully we're on the stream.
I made sure that they knew that behavior is not okay, and I realized it, and I would apologize on that. But if you have to do that every day, if you do something and you have to apologize every single day, that's really not helping. So
Remember that one good old day where you were riding your bike and you went over a storm drain and smacked your...
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was so freaky because he was trying to stay calm and trying to keep calm about, his knee that was now bleeding really bad. And man, what were we doing?
Oh yeah, he's talking about we were doing this bicycle ride.
I
And
don't think it was the DV rod though.
it was actually through the neighborhood over by where your other friend lives.
Oh,
And-
right, Matthew.
Yeah, and there was a part of the neighborhood that wasn't finished yet, but the builders had built this cul-de-sac, and there was a big sidewalk that came out from this one area, and right in front of the sidewalk was a storm drain.
Great
Well-
placement for a storm drain, guy.
We had never been there before, riding our bikes on the sidewalk, and we come and
We were going at like 25 miles an hour.
and all of a sudden I realized, oh, there's a storm drain there, and I was trying to compensate, and the bike went down and twisted really hard to the side, and the bicycle thing kind of dug all the way into my leg to the bone.
I thought it was the pedal that swung
pedal
around and
piece
smacked
did.
you really hard.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, I have to control myself here. The kids are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I think I'm just gonna lay here on the road for just a second."
Didn't you tell us to call mom or
And
something?
eventually it was like, it was just bleeding like crazy, and I was like, yeah, call mom. It was pretty rough.
Man.
So anyway, all right. Well, let's see. I'm just gonna check one more time to see if there are.
Oh,
any...
hi, Nozark.
Oh, hi, Noah's Ark. Yes. So anyway, thank you so much for everyone for coming here today. We were trying to decide. Well, if we go on today, is there really anything we can say, or
And look at how it turned out.
are people going to be bored if we're just kind of looking at each other?
Do you guys like shows? Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
how's the big game going, Dad?
Oh yeah.
What were we gonna say? Oh yeah. If you guys like this format, please tell us because, we might do more shows like this in the future. I don't know.
Well, Dave and I were wondering about,
This turned into story time.
even when Tara comes back, we were thinking about having the regular shows, but then we were thinking about maybe doing some more casual additional shows. Maybe not every Friday, but we thought about doing some on the Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, if you like the casual factor, that's great. Let us know.
Let us know in
it
the
is
comments below.
It is helpful to get more people to watch if we can say what the show is about. And we really didn't have a specific plan for that today or last week, but it seems like everybody's loving it. So yay, we really appreciate all of you being here. So I guess we're going to go ahead and go. I sure appreciate it. Oops. Hold please before we do anything else here. Got to break out my fly swatter. And let's see. Boom. Okay. Yay. All right. Okay. Now that we got that under control,
Oh wait, what was it?
I was just
Okay.
I was
Like,
just
subscribe and share and visit us
just-
livingonadime.com.
swatting bugs. Oh. So the studio audience is encouraging us to go now. So, all right. Well, we ask that you please like, subscribe, and share if you like this video.
Visit us at
Visit us at
livingonadime.com and go to livingonadime.com/store or click store at the very top.
Check
and
out our
go
Dining on a
check
Dime
out our
cookbook.
Dining on a Dime cookbook. He's posting the link in the chat right now.
Oh, and for those of you who love the soap, Tara had wanted us to remind you that at homemadesoapmakingsupplies.com, She's doing
Big
a
sale.
mystery box sale, so she's marked down her mystery soap boxes where you can just order them and get a variety of things, and it's a mystery what you're going to get.
How much?
But
is
every
it?
one of them is awesome.
30% off.
30% off.
Best price ever.
Best
So
price ever.
if you want that, it's at homemadesoapmakingsupplies.com. So anyway, all right, we'll see you later. Thanks for joining us. Turid, it's good to see you again. It's good to see all of you again, but I just happened to see Turid's name on there. So anyway, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Filler content. You can't stop it until it reaches that point up on there, or else it'll cut the show, before we actually said bye, and people would be like,
So what
wait.
does it look like at that point?
So, yeah.
Down the lights and table. I need to take some pictures.
Yeah, you can end it now.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Bye, everyone. Stop the broadcast now.